Good morning. I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and want to welcome you to our Commissioners Board meeting for June the 25th. We are obviously in person, but also broadcasting via Microsoft Teams Town Hall and also through Berks Community Television. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order with a moment of silence followed by a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll recognize my executive assistant, Veronica Lepore, to read the public comment policy.
Good morning. Thank you. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used. Teams Q&A. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the discretion of the board. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue with the commissioners. The county solicitor shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any commissioner response to public comment will be done at the discretion of the commissioners.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on specific agenda items? There's nothing online, nothing in person. We do have one in person for general comment that we'll get to later. Are there any additions or corrections to the June 18th meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. At this time, we will open a public hearing. By law, this is required to be held for the approval of the Human Service Block Grant for fiscal year 26-27. And at this time, I'll recognize Pam Seaman, our Director of the Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, to present.
Good morning. Thank you for having
me
here today. And this is also Jackie Steed. She's the Assistant Administrator with our Single County Authority, the Council on Chemical Abuse.
Great.
I also have the technology, so if I mess it up, bear with me.
I'm sure you'll do great.
As Commissioner Leinbach indicated, every year we're required to submit a Human Services Block Grant plan. And as part of the planning process, this hearing is really to give information to the public and to also solicit feedback on the plan and what we'll be submitting this year. So the first slide is about the Human Services Block Grant funds. And since 2012, Berks County moved to being a block grant funded county, which allowed greater flexibility between the various funding sources that you see on the side. The Mental Health Community Base Funded Services, Behavioral Health Services Initiative, Intellectual Disabilities, Community-Based Services, Act 52, Homeless Assistance Program funding, and Human Services Development funding. So again, as part of this block grant planning process, what happens is it allows us to submit a consolidated plan. So we work with these various different components of our community services, the Single County Authority, the Developmental Disability Community, the Mental Health Community, the Health Choices Program, our Homeless Assistance Program, to put together all the information that goes into the plan and our submission. And the leadership teams from all these different areas are part of that process. So for this year, in 2025, 2026, the year actually ending just in a couple of weeks, we are predicting that we are going to have some block grant funding left after all of the different bills come in from all of our different areas. I will say that for this year, one of the difficulties, and we often struggle with this, is the allocation process. But in 25, 26, of course, the budget was delayed in terms of passing. So not only was the budget delayed, but then the allocation letters that we received thereafter came later. So I will say that in particular, this year, we had providers who continued to deliver service even though we weren't able to fund them. So I'm sure, again, they were kind of slowing down, being cautious with what they were doing. And, that's why we have funding left over at the end of the year. Or we will, and we anticipate. So for mental health and developmental disabilities, these are the number of people that we served in fiscal year 24, 25. Obviously, this fiscal year isn't complete yet, so we don't have numbers for this year. But rather than go through all the different areas that the mental health and developmental disabilities areas funds, there's a listing of all of those. But you can see in general that our allocation for mental health was a little over $10 million, and for developmental disabilities, it was close to $3,400,000. For the MHDD side of the program, one of the things that we've been working diligently on the last couple of years, and the commissioners are aware, and Kevin certainly is aware, is a long-term structured residence, what we call an LTSR. We are in the process of developing that service, and currently funding that we've received from the state specifically to implement this program and operate it ongoing that we've been receiving is what is identified as this restricted money that will be carried over. Where we are right now with this project is we actually just started renovation, so that we hope in early calendar year 2027, the program will actually come into operation. But back to funding and how this looks, it looks like it's money that we're not spending, and that's not really what's going on here. The money is going to be spent. It's just that because of, how renovations and all of those costs came into line, we're not going to be able to utilize all those monies, and they are specifically to be used for that purpose. Another area that is funding that the county receives is human service development funds. With HSDF, we receive about $322,000 for that. And you can see that we cover areas that are generally gaps in service in other places, like home delivered meals, case management services. We pay for part of a child abuse forensic interviewer, drug and alcohol treatment for those without insurance, budget counseling, and some prevention activities. And again, another categorical that the county receives is homeless assistance program. That's the HAP program. Those funds, which were $579,000 for the current fiscal year, are used in a couple of different areas to support bridge housing, rental assistance, case management. And the Berks County Redevelopment Authority oversees our HAP subcontractors during this fiscal year. Okay, your turn. Let me get out of your way.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On this slide, we're highlighting the Behavioral Health Services Initiatives, or BHSI, along with Act 152, funding for drug and alcohol treatment. BHSI funding supports a full continuum of care that includes inpatient and outpatient services, recovery supports, client related services, and prevention efforts. So really, this funding helps meet people where they are in their behavioral health journey. Act 152 complements this by specifically funding non-hospital residential programs, giving individuals structured environments to support recovery. Altogether, these programs are expected to serve 2,600 individuals this year. It's important to remember that these funds don't just support treatment, they also support prevention and recovery, helping us address substance use and behavioral health needs throughout the entire system. And this slide's about the opioid crisis, and while we've seen some progress, the opioid crisis continues to significantly impact Berks County. In 2025, there were 90 confirmed overdose deaths, which is a slight decrease from 95 the previous year. While that's encouraging, it still shows that it remains a critical issue in our community. We've continued to expand overdose prevention efforts. Nearly 5,700 naloxone kits were distributed across the county to residents, first responders, providers, and to schools. So this is a key strategy in saving lives during overdose situations. The Warm Handoff Program, which continues to make an impact, over 700 individuals receive services, and for those appropriate for treatment, 450 accepted treatment. So this shows strong engagement, but also an opportunity to continue improving connections to care. We're also distributing tools like fentanyl and xylazine test strips, so over 2,600 combined. So this helps individuals better understand their risks and reduce overdose. Overall, the status shows that while we are making progress, there is still a lot of work ahead, and continued investment in prevention, treatment, and overdose prevention still remain very critical.
So at the very beginning, I talked about the Human Service Block Grant and the fact that it does give us some flexibility, and the flexibility that it allows us to look at is if we have funding available in one categorical area that we don't think that we can use, but there is a need in another categorical area, we can look to move that funding. We ultimately need to get approval from the state to do that, but this year, one of the areas that we did anticipate that we were going to have additional money left over is developmental disability. So we were able to identify that there were some additional needs in the Human Service Development Fund area, the different programs that we fund, and also with the Council on Chemical Abuse, that there was some drug and alcohol treatment that we could move resources from the developmental disability area too. So we did seek approval from the state, and they did allow us to do that. With the money that's left over at the end of the year, we don't actually return that to the state. One of the things that we do is look at ways that we can support other initiatives. And in the mental health field in particular, prevention is not something that we get to fund. We typically get to fund intervention. So we have used what we call retained earnings funds that are left over at the end of the year to fund primarily all of our prevention activities. We just had a Strike Out the Stigma game about a week or two ago. That's an example of a way that we actually fund prevention activities through funds like this. This is a listing of all the different areas that for last year, or the current year, using the prior year's money, that we had approved plans by the state that we implemented. And again, with these retained earnings funds, because we never know what they're going to be from year to year, we typically can't do anything in terms of actual programming, starting something up, because we don't have the ability to sustain it. So we really look at either very short-term initiatives or things that we could support, or one-time only purchases. So you can see, maybe on the next slide it'll show. We did other things, like we held a CSP conference, which is Community Support Program, our CIT program, which is the training that we do with police around mental illness. With the HAP program, we purchased BARTA bus tokens. Circle of Friends, again, this is another area with fixed assets. We help them with purchasing freezers and refrigerators that needed to be replaced. And also with the Redden Foundation, who supports a lot of our individuals in the community that utilize our service, we were able to assist them in purchasing 2 used cargo vans. So forward considerations, things that we're thinking about this year as we are submitting our plans. Obviously, some of what we identify is areas that we see program gaps in or services. Of course, I already mentioned the LTSR, which we have identified the last several years as an area of program development that we need. We also last year identified CRR for mental health consumers, which is community residential services. So we were able to expand that. One of the things that we're always looking at is workforce development, because we know that individuals that are served by our system oftentimes are in programs that are understaffed. The other big issue that for several years now, at least on the mental health side, was there was a budget cut of about 10% that we've never really recovered from. And we continue to try to fund what we've already funded, but it gives us very little opportunity to fund new services without new additional resources. We already talked about the status of retained earnings. The other big issue that certainly we're expecting it's going to impact us, and I'm sure Jackie can speak to it as well, is the changes that are occurring at the federal level with regard to medical assistance. We, out of the county, also manage our Health Choices program, which is the behavioral health program for individuals with medical assistance. But with some of the new changes that are going to be occurring, individuals who are previously eligible are no longer going to be eligible. So what that means is these services that we're talking about, the services that are funded through different allocations. For example, if someone doesn't have insurance coverage and they're not eligible for Medicaid, now they'll be coming to us to look to see if we can fund out of these resources treatment services that are needed. So we highly anticipate that we're going to have a big impact in that area. I don't know if there's anything that you want to say about that. The other forward consideration for us is on the IDD side, IDD autism side, is we're experiencing pretty monumental change in terms of multi-year growth strategy that's occurring. With that, the state really hopes to address the waiting list that exists in Pennsylvania. So just a lot of changes ultimately that going through those changes will impact our base side of things. So before we move to public comments, I don't know if any of you all have any questions regarding either what we have in this presentation or about the planning process, or anything with regard to this plan.
Two quick items. This is historically the last of your hearings that you do. Can you just touch on the other prior hearings?
So actually, this is the first.
This is the first.
Our other public hearing is actually scheduled for Monday at Alvernia at 8:30, I believe registration begins.
So the question then becomes, the resolution that we have on the agenda, we would normally pass after we get all the input. What do you want us to do?
I guess we probably should hold off until after we have that second hearing.
Yeah, normally we're the last one, and then we pass the resolution. And I think if we passed it today, it would give a sense of meaningless to your public hearing that's coming up.
Good point.
So we can do, we'll do that in a minute. The other thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned the cut, 10%, 2012, actually. CCAP has requested $40 million for counties, split into two categories, 20 million to the base and 20 million for intervention, crisis intervention, et cetera. And they're asking for that money to come out of what the governor's proposed for 110 million for schools. Earlier, let's see, I have to think what's today. Yeah, earlier this week, I spoke to Senator Scott Martin in appropriations. They're looking at that. It's unclear right now whether the budget's going to be passed on time. Seems like there's some curveballs here at the end, which is not uncommon, but I just wanted to put that out on the table. CCAP is advocating for that, and we'll see. And Scott Martin is a former county commissioner. he acknowledged the same thing, that we're ready in all the schools. So this is not us versus the schools. We're ready there. This just makes more sense to work through the traditional model on intervention and what we do there. I don't know if you want to comment at all on that.
Sure. To the school funding versus the funding that we receive on the block grant side. Again, our schools are good partners, and we, as you mentioned, we have a lot of services that are in the school that we pay for, that schools are in services in place. We have outpatient satellite mental health locations in all of our schools. We actually have student assistance program that we do with the county, with the Council on Chemical Abuse. So it's the difficulty for us is it sets up different systems. You know, if we're going to fund services, there's certain rules that we have to follow. But when the money went to the schools, those same rules didn't apply. So we're almost creating systems that don't function on equal playing field. So that's been one of the frustrations. I think in general, the $40 million, at least everything that we've been hearing with our specific association is nobody's really expecting. What we're hoping for is to just be able to continue to fund what we currently fund. And, you know, with the loss in funding a couple of years ago, our provider costs are going up. They're not going down. And if you're not getting more money, you're just really trying to figure out how do you keep going what you already have existing. So that's definitely part of the dilemma. And the crisis money, we believe, is specifically earmarked to certain programs that have been started with other kinds of funding, but there's not the sustainability there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hoping to not have to close those programs down. We are not one of them. We don't have any of the specific crisis services that have been started out in the last with that funding.
It's also important to note that while that happened in 2012, it was either 12 or 13 where they started the pilot program. I think you were still in the legislature. And without that pilot program, that 10% hit would have been even worse than it was. Ultimately, the pilot program proved a success. We were in that original pilot, and that's why we're here today. Part of the requirement is the transfer. I remember, I won't say a legislator, not one from Berks, that really opposed it. Actually, I think challenged it in Commonwealth Court, believed that counties were somehow going to take the money and use the money to build an addition to the jail or something else. And we said, no, it only can go between these specific programs, and we're fine with getting approval. And that's what we've been doing.
The other thing that I would add, and I always hate to belabor the point of more money, and I think one of the struggles in trying to educate our legislators about this is when I talk about retained earning money and the fact that we have money left over at the end of the year, it says, well, like, why do you need more money if you have money left over? But the problem is because, as I mentioned initially, we don't get our allocations till late. And also, we don't typically get more money. We are very fiscally conservative in terms of how we enter into our contracts and how we are authorizing services. So we're trying to be prudent and fiscally responsible and not overspend. So we do all that only to get to the end of the year. And then because certain costs you can't really anticipate, like a involuntary psychiatric hospitalization that happens and we have to pay for. You have to leave money set aside to do things like that. So again, It's not that we wouldn't spend every last dime. It's that we certainly also don't want to come to you and say, can you give us more money because we're out of the state money? So I think that's the other thing that we, especially as MHDD program administrators, and I don't know if you do on the drug and alcohol side, we're trying to educate legislators as to why that is deceptive, like why the information looks different than what it is, but the story that really is behind it.
Amen.
My question is going to be around process as well, but that's answered. So I just want to thank you and your partners for all the work that you do around mental health and developmental disabilities here in the county.
Absolutely. Sure.
I too want to thank you, Pam, but just a comment. I think talking about the state budget, I'm hearing that it won't be passed by the deadline. It will be passed early in July. That's the word that I'm getting. They're not going to do what happened last year. That's the rumblings that I'm hearing. So that's a positive thing. I guess I shouldn't have said that, right? Forward considerations, could you speak a little bit more about, you talked about the change at the federal level on that. How significant is that? And I mean, can you talk a little bit more about how that could affect the community here?
Again, certain individuals, especially what they call them Medicaid expansion, and in particular, it's going to be hard hitting on the drug and alcohol side. People who previously were eligible under Medicaid expansion are likely not going to be eligible unless there are different things that they can prove. There's some new work requirements, but especially for individuals that we tend to work with that have disabilities.
Right.
Again, they're essentially going to have to show documentation in terms of why they can't work or what their disability is so that they don't lose that. Now, again, I'm not saying that everybody would fall into this situation, but some of our individuals really struggle. So to be able to try to figure out how to get that additional documentation to submit it. The other thing that's going to happen is eventually there's going to be Medicaid eligibility redeterminations twice a year instead of once a year. So again, we're expecting that people will fall off. And I will say with the Health Choices program, because we also operate that, we have definitely seen our Medicaid enrollment dropping. I think 30,000 probably in the last 2 to 3 years. So again, all of those individuals who no longer have Medicaid insurance coverage either are getting covered somewhere else or they're not getting treatment. And the worry also with that is if you're not getting treatment earlier on, that's where we want people to access service, then people tend to wind up needing higher levels of service where maybe they have involvement in other systems like the criminal justice system. So again, not a good thing. All that you can do is try to anticipate what's going to happen. And, you know, we're working closely with the state and with our managed care company to get information out to our members that are covered to ensure that they're doing everything that they can to keep their eligibility. But ultimately, you know, and I think on the SCA side, you guys have already experienced increased costs.
We've already experienced the NMA. Also, your provider costs are going up. So then we have that at the same time. So yeah, we're all already experiencing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any public comment before we close the hearing? Just if you could step up to the microphone, Barbie, make sure the microphone's on. Your name and your municipality where you're from or organization.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Elise McCauley. I'm the Assistant Director with the Berks Coalition on Homelessness. Pam and Michelle were kind enough to invite me here today to talk about homelessness in Berks, just to kind of give you a snapshot when you're considering this funding. And then we recently, I'm sure many of you know, released the community-wide strategic plan to end homelessness for Berks. And so there are some specific recommendations that came out of that plan that I just wanted to highlight for you. So just to kind of give an idea of what we're looking at right now, in 2026, we did our point in time count, which is a count for one single night. So how many people are experiencing homelessness in Berks County on that single night. And so this year we found 734 people. 213 were living unsheltered in cars or outside in tents, and then 420 in emergency shelter. 101 people in transitional housing. And so that 213 living unsheltered is the bare minimum. So we do a really intense deduplication process to make sure that that's a very accurate number, but we know from talking to providers and people outside that we're just not getting the correct number. So that is the best that we could get. And just to give a context to that, 2025, our number, there was an 8% increase this year. So, and the overall number of people experiencing homelessness in the county. And so we have found, you know, a lot of people between 70 and 80% are experiencing homelessness in Berks for the first time. And a lot of people have income. So we recognize that the driver behind this increase is the lack of affordable housing. And we have looked at rentals in Reading for a studio around $840 a month, $1,500 for a 4-bedroom. Median price of all current available listings is around $1,400. And then we found actually that in the past year, studio rentals have increased by 12% and 2 bedrooms have increased by 24%. And so to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Berks County, a person needs to make $26 an hour on average to be able just to afford that 2-bedroom apartment. You could go to the next slide for me, Pam. Thank you. So when we talk about how do we work on this problem? We were able to contract with a consultant who worked really hard over the past year to create a very comprehensive plan to end homelessness for Berks County. And so you can see the process talks about what they put into that. So a ton of surveying and interviews. I think they met with MHDD and county leadership, city leadership, people with lived experience, providers. They really tried to do a very comprehensive survey of the entire county and anyone who might be interacting with the system. And so out of that, 6 themes were identified. We have the COC structure and collaboration, prevention and diversion, emergency shelter and crisis resources, supportive services, permanent housing, and community leadership. And then if you are interested in reviewing the plan, because it's really, well, it's interesting to me because this is my thing, but I do think it's interesting to the average person as well. It's very comprehensive. It's long, but they wrote it in a way that I think that it's pretty easy to understand, and it is on our website. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide for me, Pam. Thank you. Okay, so the recommendations, these are definitely not all the recommendations that came out of the plan. These are the recommendations that kind of made sense for me to pull out for talking about this funding. So from the prevention and diversion theme, there was a recommendation to create a countywide housing stabilization fund with flexible dollars. So what that would mean is like we have people come into our office who, they just need $80 to fix their car so they don't lose their job, right? And none of the federal funding is able to pay for something like that. So we've seen other communities that have a lot of success with having, like buying work boots or just little things like that that are hard to find government dollars to pay for that would help keep somebody out of homelessness. And then we have the emergency shelter and crisis response recommendations. And the big one for that is expanding emergency shelter capacity. So we have people every day who come to our office that want to go to shelter who cannot because the shelters are at capacity. And then implementing a non-congregate shelter, a low barrier day center, and then senior and disability accessible shelter beds. And then for the supportive services theme, there was a recommendation to create dedicated system navigator positions and embedding behavioral health and substance use services in the shelters and outreach. One really cool thing that has happened this year is the SOAR program has been funded, and we have at the coalition now a SOAR specialist. And so Pam probably knows better than me, but it is funded through county dollars, it's new funding for us. And this person has been able to over 20 people connect them with income from that were street homeless so that they could get income and get into housing and stay in housing. And these are people who are chronically homeless and have like a severe disability. So that's been something really cool that came out of that. And obviously that, speaks to that recommendation. And then the permanent housing theme is just expanding on the permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing projects that we already have, and then prioritizing those vulnerable populations like youth, families, and older adults. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight those things for you today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You're technically not public comment. You're part of the presentation. So we will note that on the record. We appreciate the input and the work Jack and you and the team do. Homelessness is something that touches so many different organizations. MHDD is one to a certain degree. Area Agency on Aging deals with it. We have Jamie Perez here, Director of the Redevelopment Authority. A lot of federal dollars come through their agency, and then numerous private entities, or I should say nonprofit entities that are out there. And it's a continued challenge. And then you layer on top of that, the real estate housing market. Not going to get into the politics, but a major housing bill was passed overwhelmingly by the Congress and now is becoming a political football. It's something that NACO, the National Association of Counties, is strongly supported. Hopefully, it will ultimately go through, and it addresses not all, but addresses a lot of the housing pressures that have ultimately the most serious impact on those on the bottom rung of the ladder. Right? So hopefully that gets moving forward in the next several days.
I appreciate that. I'm familiar with the bill, but it's good to hear that that association is supporting it, and hopefully it goes through. So
Thank
you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for the information, for the work that you do. I have a question, 'cause I haven't read it all, but is there anything in here that relates to youth homelessness?
There is a little bit, but we actually are lucky enough to have gotten a grant from HUD to do a youth homeless systems. It's basically a map of and looking at the data and saying, okay, this is what we have now and this is what we need. So we are actually in the middle of that project right now, and we will definitely be releasing the results from that project as soon as it's complete. But I could send you information that we have, like preliminary information.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that federal bill that's sitting on the president's desk gets signed. And it was 5 no votes in the Senate and 50 no votes in the House. And that's something that doesn't happen in Washington. So I'm hoping that it's a very bipartisan piece of legislation, and I hope the president signs it. There's been some initiatives as well at the state level. I know the governor's office has that affected you or in a positive way? Are you familiar with some of the things that are happening there?
Yes. We're big housing nerds. So we actually read we read it.
Okay.
I think it will.
It's
It
just.
will. It's just so early.
Yeah, right.
But I think we feel really positively especially about the zoning pieces of that. I think that zoning is something that is just a huge topic nationally about how we can kind of work on that to really make sure that our providers are able to do the things they need to do, and people can do, individuals building can do the things they need to do. So I think we saw some really promising things in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Okay, my recommendation is that I'd like a motion to postpone item 188.2026A until the final public hearing is complete, and then post it on the next agenda after that final hearing.
I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate the hearing. And at this time, we will close the public hearing portion of this meeting and move into our regular agenda. Item 1, authorizing under that Budget Department adopt a resolution authorizing 2026 appropriations in the amount of $18,648 per listing dated June 18th of 2026. We have one item under Human Resources. Item 1, authorize the appointment of Lindsay Bueller to video conference coordinator at the Berks County Jail System. Under the Commissioners, we have several items. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the Berks County Solid Waste Authority on behalf of Berks County to apply for the 904 Municipal Recycling Performance Grant to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Waste Management, based for calendar year 2025, and further authorizing Kevin S. Barnhart, Chief Operations Officer, to execute the Worker Protection and Investment Certification. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute Amendment Number 5 to the lease agreement between the County of Berks and the Berks County Nonprofit Development Corporation, providing that gas, electric, utility costs incurred on or after July 1, 2026 will be the responsibility of the County of Berks, and setting forth procedure for payment of facility expenses subject to final review and approval by the Berks County Solicitor's Office. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute a letter of certification in connection with the application of connections work to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for U.S. Department of Justice Edward Burton Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program funding. Should connection work decide to maintain the programming initiated through this grant opportunity beyond the conclusion of the grant period, anticipated to be on or around December 31st, 2028, the organization will actively seek additional grant and philanthropic funding sources to ensure the program's continuation. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a project modification request for the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency Forensic Science Combating Opioids Grant. This resolution shall further authorize the Chief Operations Officer to execute all documents and agreements necessary to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested project modification. Item 2, a motion to authorize the execution of contract agreements and amendments as set forth on the contract agenda listing dated June the 22nd of 2026. There are a total of 22 contracts. There are 8 with the Area Agency on Aging, 1 with the Berksheim, 1 with CareerLink, 1 with Children and Youth Services, 3 jointly with Children and Youth Services and Juvenile Probation, 1 with Facilities and Operations, 2 with Information Systems, 1 with the Berks County Jail, 2 with Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, 1 with Purchasing, and 1 with the Sheriff's Office. Item 3, a motion to authorize the execution of payments and electronic transfers for the week ending June 26th of 2026. And item 4, a motion to authorize the execution of employee payroll disbursements dated June 30th of 2026.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We'll now hear reports of our treasurer and controller. Our treasurer, Mitch Darcourt, let me know that he might have to leave early. He had another commitment. So I will be reading the treasurer's report. The general account total is $307,352,709.80. A balance to clear, $6,981,228.27, leaving a balance of $300,371,481.43. And with that, we'll move now to our Berks County Controller, Joe Rutterow, with the Controller's Report. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the week ending 6/26/2026, we have a total accounts payable and cash disbursement of $6,034,007.21. I also just wanted to update the board on 2 other projects. One is that the annual comprehensive financial report is getting the final touches put on it. I'm told we will be able to, that'll be issued by June 30th. That'll then get filed with the courts at the first available date, and then down to the Prefecture's office. So all indications are that we'll get that done on time and filed accordingly. So I just wanted to update you on that. And lastly, I just provided a quick 6-month overview sheet. I have with me Carol Politz, our accounts payable manager, if there's any questions, but just to show you our progress on converting vendors from check to ACH over the last 6 months. We're also converting wires to ACH as well. So that process it's time consuming. It takes time, but we're cleaning up vendor files and we are making some positive headway in that. And of course, it's a preferred method of payment, which is less susceptible to the amount of bad actors that are out there today. It's not 100% foolproof.
Right.
We're making some progress. And
I would say this is more than progress. Just you're selling yourself short. February, $3,126.21. May, $446,567.51. And so far in June, $1.2 million plus dollars. That's saving money, and as you note, is a much more secure method. I'd read an article within the last week that checks now are considered one of the worst ways to pay because they are so susceptible to theft, but also to using them in an inappropriate way.
Well, I've got to give all of the thanks to Carol and her team. They've done
Thank you,
an
Carol.
amazing job in getting this. And there's a lot of thought that goes into it. I mean, you've got to, there's a lot of variables that as you make that change, it's not just as easy as
Right.
flicking
Snap
a
your finger.
switch. We have to look at a lot of different things, but we are doing some vendor cleanup as well. So making some good progress. It's about the 6 months. Carol joined the team in January. So I thought it would be appropriate to kind of give you a little snapshot of where we're at. And hopefully at the end of the year, we'll be coming back and giving you a year-end total. And hopefully those numbers will continue to climb. So thank you.
Great job.
Very good. Thank you. With that, we'll turn to our Chief Operations Officer, Kevin Barnhart, for your report.
Thank you, Commissioner Linebacker. Our team has nothing to offer at the present time.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. See if we pop up here. There we go. You mentioned it. You got it. I wasn't here last week. I was on vacation. So I wanted to share some photos. This is from the Strike Out the Stigma night. I was tempted to show the video that my executive assistant took of the 3 commissioners attempting to throw out the first pitch.
Please burn that, by the way. Throw it away.
All I'll say is all of us look pretty bad, but I didn't bounce the ball.
I did.
But I threw it wild enough that the catcher couldn't catch it. So it was pretty embarrassing, wasn't it? But what was not embarrassing was our MHDD team and our partners that were there and the message that was able to get out because of the Strike Out the Stigma message. So Pam, your team, kudos. And we love the partnership with the Reading Fightin' Phils. Scott Hunsinger let us know he looks forward to this event every single year. A couple of us, 3 of us actually participated in the Schuylkill River Sojourn, just a couple photos. This is when we, I think actually, yeah, this is when we were breaking for lunch at Riverfront. And I took a picture of 2 of the paddlers. Since I took the picture, I'm not in it. Barbie in a kayak and Veronica in the front of our canoe. We went the whole way. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. But if we hadn't had rain the day before, I think I would have been walking most of the Schuylkill because we hit a fair number of rocks. I have a Old Town canoe with Royal X, so it held up pretty well. But a great event. Elaine Schaefer and the Schuylkill River Greenway do a great job with this every year. Also wanted to highlight the opening of the new display at the Heritage Center. This is a pretty incredible display. If you look, looking left to right, the gentleman all the way on the left is from Reading Muhlenberg Votech. He worked with Mike Miller, who he has his arm around. Mike Miller, a lot of people know him, is a local artist that is renowned for his mural work. They worked together on this, but in particular, in mounting this eagle. This eagle is just about 50 years old and was constructed by students at Reading Muhlenberg. When we had this event, they had not been able to track down any of the students, but because of the news coverage, one of the students did reach out to Brendan that was involved in it. If you look at the wing on your right had the names of many of the students etched in it. So it's really was a great opportunity. The person next to Mike Miller is Dan Rowe, our deputy, and myself, Brendan Leder, our director, Parks, and Commissioner Santoni. Just, again, an amazing event. That eagle is cast aluminum. And you would think aluminum, that's not too heavy. It took 10 people to carry that. And it now is in a place where it can be seen. One of the things we participated in, where's Lynn Burns?
She had to be.
She had something else, but Lynn Burns, executive assistant to Dante Santoni, had a great part in this. The National Association of Counties reached out to counties across the country for something that they could put on a wall in their new studio where they will be doing video clips, podcasts, etc. And we ended up doing a redware. Jeff Dietrich is the artist from up, I believe, in is it Kempton area?
He lives up there. He taught it.
Yeah.
He was a teacher.
Just amazing work. And so I asked him, do you remember Lester Breininger? Lester Breininger has passed away many years ago, but he was the redware king of Berks County over in Robizonia. And he did meet Lester Breininger. I don't have time to tell the story, but it was actually pretty funny story. And he actually got to spend time with Lester and Barbara. And then we got this picture from Mark Chavez is on your right. Mark is the assistant to the National Association of County Board of Directors and actually made the request. And Matt Chase, with a thumbs up, is our CEO. They got it in one piece, and that will be representing Berks County from now to who knows when. And the last thing I want to continue to promote, Saturday, July the 4th, there's two major events. One, our official America 250 Berks County 4th of July parade will be at Wyomissing. We have an entry in the parade. Sycamore Stage from Robizonia is part of that. The Liberty Fire Company Museum will have a fire truck in it. A number of the county elected officials and staff will be handing out American flags, having America 250 signs. And then in the afternoon, the Star Spangled Spectacular, starting at 2 p.m., running to 10 p.m. It's free parking, free entry. There will be food trucks there, some family games. If you're able to, we ask that you bring a non-perishable food item to support Helping Harvest. Helping Harvest will be there. It should be a really wonderful evening. Let me just check and see if I had anything else. Just this weekend, I wanted to highlight, well, actually today, about noon, I think most of us, commissioners and board members from the airport, will be at a groundbreaking for the West Apron, 2 hangars, one 24,000 square foot hangar and one 15,000 square foot hangar. Excited with the continued growth at the airport. Tomorrow evening, I'll be at the Robizonia Street Fair, celebrating America 250 and participating in some type of judging on a contest. On Saturday, I'll be at the Daniel Boone Homestead and their America 250 event. On Sunday, I'll be in the parade. Fleetwood is having their America 250 parade at 1 p.m. In Fleetwood. And then Sunday evening, I'll be speaking at the Mifflin Community Days, talking about the America 250 and its importance. I want to thank Eric Koala. He is the one that reached out to me. He's overseeing that event that night and asked me to come speak. That is all that I have, and we'll turn it over now to Commissioner Dante Santoni.
I think Commissioner Rivera is next.
No, it says Santoni on mine.
But go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
What
Oh, okay.
who is it? It's Rivera. You're up.
Rivera, here's what happened. When you changed, it's okay. When I have the old version and just deleted that second item, so
I think
that's
it's my turn to go last. So
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. A few items here. The County Commissioners Association holds a Center for Excellence in County Leadership, and it's a 2.5-day intensive leadership program for county government professionals, and it's focused on strengthening communication, management, and leadership skills. And this past session, we had Lori Schneider from our assessment department participate. So congratulations to Lori for going through that 2.5-day session. It's a great way to learn about communication, management, and leadership skills, but it's also a great way to connect and network with other county officials from other counties as well. So I'm sure Lori will put into practice what she learned there and make good use of the contacts that she made from other counties as well. Also want to bring some really interesting numbers from our juvenile probation office and our treatment courts. And the numbers lag a little bit behind, but these are the latest numbers from the state. And in 2022, JPO, the recidivism rate was 7.8%, while the statewide juvenile rate for 2022 was 11.3%. So Berks is 3.5% below the state average, and that is thanks to the great work of Dan Height and his team there in the juvenile probation office in finding ways to work with our juveniles and avoid recidivism. The same way that 2023 numbers for the treatment court graduates here in Berks County, their recidivism rates for the DUI court, 10% recidivism rate. For the drug court, the recidivism rate was 0. Mental health, 11%. Veterans court, 0 recidivism rate. And 62 successful graduates with 5 rearrested, which is an 8% recidivism rate for all treatment courts. So I think those are great numbers. These are ways to get people help rather than throw them in jail or ruin their record. And these are not free get out of jail cards. These are programs that they have to put time and effort into. So I want to thank the judges and our district attorney and everyone else in the courts for working these programs and making sure that these numbers are really, really low. Also, we started with the Barnopoly 2026, and the boards are here. If you go on to berksag.org /Barnopoly, you can learn more information about that, where to get the cards. There will be cards at the different participants. And this is a card. It looks like a Monopoly card, but it's called Barnopoly. And it's to help people learn about the different ag and ag-related businesses here in Berks County. You get a card, you visit these places. As you visit them, you get a stamp on your Barnopoly card. You accumulate points, and then this runs through mid-September. Then after that, if you've accumulated over X amount of points, you can go into a drawing to win ag-related prizes. So please, it's a great way to get out there and learn again about ag and ag-related businesses, which is the #1 industry and growth revenue in Berks County. So a great way to get out there and do something different rather than visit the same places that you always do. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go to Kutztown, and the Kutztown Small Business Development Center had a program there, and it was the Kutztown Main Street Business Walk Consumer Choice Awards for 2026. I wasn't able to stay there the whole day, just about an hour and a half, and visited different businesses, but these are businesses that the local community voted on. So I want to congratulate the winners. We had the Cottage Bakery and Cafe, which was awarded the friendliest staff. I had the opportunity, together with Barbara, to go there and listen to her great story about how she, for all of her life, wanted to have a bakery, but never did it, had kids, put it off, until she was talking to someone about a business, and they asked her about why people put things off or don't pursue their dreams. And she gave her reason. Then she said, wow, guess that really applies to me. And she said 51 days later, she had her bakery open and has been there for 3 years now, and has looked for the assistance of the Small Business Development Center after she opened it. And she said, I asked her what she would do differently. She said, find the help before opening the business. But they have been quite successful there, now at 11 employees and growing. So congratulations to them. Then we went to the Bagel Bar Cafe, and they won the Best Coffee Shop, Local Folk Creative Studio, which is a community spotlight award. We went to City Cuts Barbershop, Best Service Business, Level Up Hidden Gem Award, Four Monkeys Coffee and Roastery, Community Spotlight, Firefly Bookstore, Best Overall Business, Paisley and Company, Best Local Boutique, and the Kutztown Tavern was the best restaurant. We had people there from Kutztown University Small Business Development Center. We had someone there from DCD, someone that works with Jennifer. She was there as well. So a lot of different people there to celebrate that. Channel 69 News was there to cover it as well. So I want to thank the SBDC for putting this together, and congratulate all of the award winners in Kutztown. Want to make sure that we continue to support our small businesses. Also last night, Commissioner Leinbach and I and Kevin was there, and Larry and a few others had the opportunity to attend the Veronica, yes.
And Dante was there.
What's that?
Dante was there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so all three of us were there, and I didn't see Dante. I had to leave early. I had another commitment, which Commissioner Leinbach has declined to join, but so I had to leave a little bit early.
Salsa lessons. If you can picture me doing salsa.
Our controller was there as well. So was our treasurer, our sheriff was there, our district attorney was there. But this is a clam bake in support of the police, Berks County police chiefs. They gave out 2 awards. One was, I can't remember her name, but it was for, she's a nurse in the Lehigh Valley area, lives in Berks County, but she drove by a construction site, saw that there was a medical emergency there. She stopped and she rendered her services until the EMS could arrive. And thanks to her, the person's life was saved. The ambulance was able to get them to the hospital. She was awarded that for stopping and helping out when needed. The second award went to Corporal McCluskey from the Carnarvon Police Department. I've spoken about the great work that he does around the task force here in Berks County. So congratulations to both of them. One more item, the Daniel Boone Homestead event, if you're interested, is Evening on the Green, and it is tomorrow from 4 p.m. On Saturday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you will be able to tour the 7 18th century buildings and partake of several demonstrations and activities presented by reenactors and crafters in period attire. Well, you can really go there at any time to visit, but Saturday from 4 to 8 will be a special event put on for the 250th celebration. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. Commissioner Santoni, is there anything left?
Not much. Thank you. You guys did a great job reporting. Just to add to the Daniel Boone Homestead event, I was told by Charlie Adams that at 4 p.m. they will be reading the Declaration of Independence. So if you're looking for a specific time to go, that might be, that's when I plan on attending to attend that event starting at 4. The 2026 Field of Heroes ceremony is going to be held next Thursday. I know all three commissioners are scheduled to be there. It's the West Reading Wyomissing Rotary Club, and they do this every year, but 2026 is, of course, going to take on special significance because of the America 250. There's going to be some music to start at 12:30, provided by Hero Brass Ensemble and Brandywine Colonials Fife and Drum Club Corporation. There's going to be a symbolic 1,776-step mental health and wellness walk, sort of in tune with what we're talking about today. There's going to be mental health and wellness tables there to provide resources for the community, a flag disposal box for people to retire their flags appropriately. So I look forward to that event. It's always a great event, and I'm sure it's going to be even more exciting this year with the America 250. I'm going to keep reminding people about the fan zone, the FIFA, the World Cup's fan zone that's coming to Reading, July 3rd, 4th, 18th, and 19th. It is a free event, but you need to register. Go on the Experience Reading and Berks County website and register. The numbers are growing. It's going to be really exciting. The music is developing. There's Friday and Saturday, 3rd and 4th, along with the 18th and 19th. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's going to be music on Penn Avenue. So we welcome people to enjoy that. So I'm sure I will see many people there July 3rd, 4th, 18th, and 19th. And my final item, I just want to, report on, we heard some good news this week. First reported by the New York Times and then local reporting. The ICE facility that was purchased in Upper Bern Township by the Department of Homeland Security is now not being utilized, and that's good news. I know that many people were involved in that, and I want to thank the governor's office for their help and support. And I also want to thank the residents of this community, of this county, especially of Upper Bern and around that area, because a lot of people spoke. There was protests, peaceful protests, a lot of rallies. People wrote their elected officials. And I think when people get a little cynical about how important it is to get involved in their communities, they sort of think, oh, those politicians don't listen to us. But I think this was an example of how that worked. Not happy that the taxpayer dollars were utilized to spend it. And I think there's still some information that we need to get with what's going to happen moving forward. But I think the fact that those facilities, and not just here in Berks, but also up in School Court, are not going to be utilized by the ICE organization, by the Department of Homeland Security, is a positive thing for our community. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I should mention one thing. I did reach out last week to Congressman Muser's office when I got the news, and he sent me the same article I had read and said that he was reaching out to DHS and that when he had information from them, he would share it with us. I've not heard anything, and to best of my knowledge, no one from DHS or ICE has reached out to anyone here in the county government. So it is what it is. I'll just leave it at that. Public comment. We have nothing in person. We do have two. Can you look at the third one online? They're from a legitimate organization. I know the organization, but didn't list municipality. I asked for it. We'll see. I'll go with whatever you advise. The first one is Crystal Kowalski, Wyomissing, PA. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for your part in stopping the DHS warehouse in Tremont and Upper Bern. Thank you for using your leadership role to ask the hard questions that needed to be asked. These warehouses were defeated because people throughout our two communities, with support of people from across the state and across the country, worked tirelessly to defeat them. Our united work helped us to avoid having two massive detention camps in our area. We should be proud of this, but there's more work to be done. We are not free of our responsibilities. Berks County must end its voluntary cooperation with ICE and DHS. By voluntarily contacting ICE and holding people past their court-ordered release date and time, we are acting as a supply pipeline. People are flowing through that pipeline. They are our friends, family, and neighbors. That pipeline leads directly to detention camps, just like the ones we fought so hard to defeat. Commissioners, You are 3 of the 7 people that make up the prison board. The prison board has sole responsibility over choosing to voluntarily cooperate with ICE DHS. I'm asking you to recognize that people flowing through your pipeline will end up in detention centers that treat them inhumanely. You have stated that you are opposed to this. I am asking you to take the power that lays solely in your hands and stop all collaboration with ICE. Thank you, Crystal Kowalski, YMSing. Craig Schaefer, Cumru Township. I am very happy with the news that the current administration is abandoning the unconstitutional Upper Burn and Tremont detention facilities. This comes at a loss of $800,000 in local tax revenue because the federal government owns the property and is tax exempt. The reason for abandoning the project was the vehement opposition from your constituents in our community. My message to the commissioners is not to underestimate the vindictiveness of this administration. The community opposed this project, and the administration will hurt the community by sitting on this property, causing the loss of local tax revenue indefinitely. They are not motivated to sell, but are motivated to hurt people. After all, that is what the detention center was designed for in the first place. What do you think? Okay. That closes our public comment period.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make one comment real quick. I thought it was pretty neat that Air Force One landed at the Reading Regional Airport. And historically, it's only happened 3 times from what I can tell. Twice with the current sitting president and once with President Obama. So that's pretty neat that, you know, Air Force One can
Mhm.
land at our airport, and maybe that'll give a boost or help folks recognize that there's a lot going on out there. And I thought it was pretty neat.
Well, add to that, you had Air Force Two, I guess, Vice President Kamala Harris landed here a day prior to the last general election. And I believe it was in 2016, I believe it was, Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence was here. Interestingly enough, I sat next to Bern Township Police Chief last evening at the clam bake, and he said in discussions with Secret Service, this time Secret Service loves the Reading Regional Airport. They said it's one of the easiest airports to get in and out of, that our staff there, Zach Tempesco and their team, are very easy to work with. And they intend to use it for other locations in Pennsylvania. So I thought that was very complimentary of this area. That's not a political statement. That's really a statement about the airport, our staff, our law enforcement, because they work very closely with Secret Service when any president or vice president comes in. Yeah, Brian Gaccio has been very involved in this coordination as well. So just very timely. Any other, well, you're the only row officer, so motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
The meeting stands adjourned.